Carol, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about how social media has a negative impact on adolescents' body image. And my 3 supporting claims is going to be that social media has links to body image. It doesn't exactly cause it, but it has links to it. That fitness and wellness accounts are the most damaging for both genders, and that the younger the user, the greater the impact that social media has on body image. So to start, I'm going to tell you that, guys, that 92% of teens go online daily, while 24% say they go online almost constantly. And then more than half of teens ages 13 to 17 go online several times a day. 12% say they go online once a day, 6% weekly, and 2% go online less often than that. 71% of teens use more than one social media platform, the most popular being Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. So I found a quote from Time magazine that says, earlier this year, psychologists found robust cross-cultural evidence linking social media use to body image concerns, dieting, body surveillance, a drive for thinness, and self-objectification in adolescents. Because Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, you can post a selfie, you can post a mirror pic, all of those things, and you strive to look the best that you can for your followers to get likes. And then once you then decide your worth by the number of likes you get. And even once I post a selfie, I'll go through my feed and I'll see who else posted a picture, and then I'll compare my picture to them, and I'll see what they have posted, and I'll examine it and everything, and I'll compare it to my own. And my body, my hair, my skin, all of that, I compare it. And by that, girls, they report more body image problems and eating disorders than boys do. But however, social media has shown that both are equally damaged by social media, which leads me to my second point, that fitness and wellness accounts are the most damaging for both genders. Because for the boys that look at these bodybuilders and these fitness pros and all these people who take protein powder and all these supplements that helps them gain weight and build muscle, it makes them look at their body and think that since they aren't as big, or they don't have that as big as muscles as they do, that their body isn't as normal, or it isn't normal as it should be. And for girls, it also, a lot of these sites have a lot of pro-anorexia language that says if you eat less, if you eat smaller portions, you'll lose weight. You'll have a flatter stomach. All these things, so it'll make you want to lose weight and just stop eating in general, because you're so worried that because you don't have a flat stomach, you don't have a thigh gap, you don't have tiny thighs and thin waist, that you're not perfect. You're not in the same weight range as you should be. And a lot of these sites, they drive for wellness and clean eating, but they have a stealthy cover for dieting and eating deprivation. And so my third claim is going to be that the younger the user, the greater the impact social media has on body image. I have a quote from the Park Nicolette Melrose Center. It's a clinic that specializes in treating dysfunctional body image and eating disorders, that says 20% of 9-year-olds and 40% of 14-year-olds admitted to wanting to lose weight. The same study found that half of the sampled girls, ages 6 to 8, also wanted to be slimmer. Many of the same girls who wished to be thinner were within the normal weight range for their ages. And to me, that's really astounding, because most of these girls have Instagrams. They're able to go through all these sites and look at all these girls who they don't even know and compare their bodies and be like, I need to lose weight. I'm not as skinny as she is. Girl Scouts also did an online survey in 2010 with over 1,000 girls, and 9 out of 10 girls felt pressure by fashion and media industries to be skinny, while 65% of respondents thought body image represented by fashion industry was too skinny. Over 60% compared themselves to fashion models, and 46% used fashion magazines as a body image to strive for. And also, one residential eating disorder treatment found that 30 to 50% of their patients were actively using social networking sites to support their eating disorders, which shows that you can go out onto social media and find people who are struggling with the same things you are, and like be able to say like, oh, it's okay that you want to be skinnier. You just have to do this, this, and this. In the end, I'm gonna read a quote from a professor at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health that says, social media may have a stronger impact on children's body image than traditional media. Messages and images are more targeted. If the message comes from a friend, it is perceived as more meaningful and credible. She also emphasizes that children most at risk are those with more exposure to media messages and less exposure to rational, clear messages from supportive adults. So with that, I hope that it makes you realize that social media and what you post and what other people post has a negative impact on younger generations and also people the same age on their body image. Thank you.
At the beginning of the speech, you phrased the proposition kind of as a question, as almost like an informative speech. I'm going to show you how social media has this effect. Get rid of the how. It's not a question. It's a declarative statement, so you want to make sure that you got a propositional claim. There's a reasonable preview of the supporting points. I do think you rush by them a little bit, and a couple of them are barely phrased as declarative statements, so you want to make sure that you're doing that also. You do a good job signposting at the beginning. You start off with some statistical information about how frequently people go online, and there's a lot of that information. There's no source given for that information. I don't doubt that it's accurate, but I do think that you ought to be citing that material. And then there's a discussion about how there could be an impact on the kids going online, and this is, you've got the quote from Time magazine, which gives you a little bit of a link, and then you're really dependent upon personal examples to illustrate this point. And I think the personal examples are maybe a good way to introduce the concept, but there has to be something that follows it up and demonstrates that there is in fact some impact. I think maybe the quote that you have at the end might help a little bit, although if you gave a source for this Johns Hopkins professor, that's all we know about them. I don't even know if they're in the Department of Health or Biology, or whether they're a sociologist, or maybe they're an historian. There's no explanation of what their authority is, so I think that hurts a little bit there. The second point, which seems to talk about specific accounts that people may visit and feel inadequate in doing this kind of social comparison on. That's okay, except it sounds to me like you say they're pro-anorexia language, and all the language that you described sounded to me like it was describing what people ought to do to be fit. What is the difference between average health and what you see as being pro-anorexic? I'm not sure where you draw the line and why you think these sites have a substantial impact. I think you need to kind of explain why. We don't even have any numbers on this, how many of especially the young people that you talk about later, are visiting these particular kinds of sites. On the third point, I do think there's better information here about the general impact of social media on how people see themselves. I thought the Girl Scout research was an interesting one that talked about how they do social comparison to themselves on fashion industry and that sort of thing. There's a lot of research on that over the years, so I think that you're a little bit stronger on that point. But the online stuff, I think, still sounds a little bit iffy. There's a lot of mights and maybes, and I think there's some parsing to be done on the language too that suggests that you haven't really found as strong proof on this as you need to be convincing. All right, thank you.